of the that was the end of the PowerPoint presentation. Those were the three things. If you have any questions, put them in the band chat. I would love to see that chat continue to keep going and to motivate each other. And then when we come back to these roundtables, it's not like, wow, we haven't chatted with each other in a month. It's kind of revisiting the things that we talked about on these calls. So today was the vision and the mission of what we want our home to be. And I really encourage you to go do those things in your home this month. And I would love to hear how they're impacting your family. So, okay, let's unmute if possible. I really hope you can, and we can kind of share a little bit of what homeschooling has looked like this past month for you. Anybody? Okay, I see in the chat, being good at can be a dangerous way to praise. What happens when they do something that doesn't appear to be good at natural ability? I am trying to remember to praise attempts, struggles, congratulating them for their effort more than effortless stuff that requires nothing from them. Yeah, that's really good because I feel too, and this is something that was shared on the homeschooling call. So once again, I encourage you ladies to go listen to it. But even for my children, my son, I have two 7-year-olds. So my son, who does not have autism, is getting the praise. I was falling into this trap of, wow, you're good at this, you're good at that. And then I had my son with autism, and yes, he is very smart in math, but what I was praising him for were very different. And my other 7-year-old started noticing. And so I really like the congratulating. And I read too in the book that praising their attempts, even when they fail, is good, because we're not just coming, it's not just the outcome of it. It's we're helping them along the journey. I would love to, can you share?
Hi there.
Hi.
Hey, really great talk today. I like that. Just that whole idea of setting, like getting your intentions, getting your centering, right? Start from here rather than starting from some artificial setup that's come in from the public school, which is really, really a new invention. Let's just talk truth here. In the 100 years, 150 years, public school experiment. Before that, everyone learned at home. Everyone learned at the side of mom and dad, and in the thick of whatever business they were running. And they were involved because they needed to be. They felt needed, they felt a part. And so it's only just really recently that it has become so artificially separated, super segmented and really divorced from reality in that way, right? When you think about grade work, oh, that's second grade work. My youngest son, the boys went to a private school for a time. This was in Peru some years ago, but his teacher actually said, well, we're kind of having trouble with your son because he keeps wanting to interact with the older classes, during recess time. And I was like, is that a problem? Come on. And they said, well, if they're doing sports, maybe they'll get hurt. Yeah, you know what? You'll learn from that. But, this idea that you need to be segregated, again, segregate you from your family, from your other classes. Anyway, that's a whole rant on don't compare ourselves to this artificial system. I really love that you kind of pointed that out. Don't try to create school at home. It's not where we're going. It's not.
It's so hard because I feel like when society does things one way and then we do them differently, our family and friends, they don't see before the 100 years or whatever. They only see what's happening now, and everyone's complaining that it's not working, but nobody wants, like, but I don't want to say nobody, but people that I'm close with, all, like, when I'm with them, right? Or if I'm in my neighborhood, everyone's so upset at the school system. And that was me. Like, when my son got in trouble for talking about, he just was like, does anybody believe in Yeshua? And he got in trouble for it at school. And I had a huge talk with the principal. And then the next week, there was a transgender teacher in his school, and as a teacher, and nobody informed me. And I just kept trying to fix a broken system. I spent so much time up there saying, no, this is the Constitution. He can say what he wants. Like, you should have told me this. I couldn't believe what they were learning in school. I couldn't believe what he was coming. I was never showing him Disney movies. Well, 3 years ago, I might have, but now we're not exposing him to that. But then in school, they're like, this is great. Or they're showing the Magic School Bus. And I'm like, and then and then it's this fight of like, oh, mommy, you said we don't have magic in our home, but I watched the Magic School Bus. And the thing is that there might be some sisters that allow their kids to watch the Magic School Bus. That's not the point. The point is that what I'm teaching at home doesn't align with the school system. And I spend so much time trying to fix something. And then I realized I'm not this advocate for the thing. I'm a mother to my children, period.
Yes. Yes. No, that's so well said. Like, yeah, there's a place for, pushing back and trying to reform and trying to change. But really, at the end of the day, God gave those kids to you. And that's your highest mission. Like, your job is to be their mom. No one else has been tasked with the job to be their mom. And so, at the end of the day, yes, I try to look at it as it's probably well-intentioned when someone tries to say, yeah, you should put them in school. Yeah, they'll do better, with this input or that opportunity or whatever. And just kind of receive it as well, thank you. I'll think that over. And for 13 milliseconds, I think, and then go, nope, it doesn't align with my mission. So, I can receive it as the gift it was intended as and say thank you. And then I can release that because it doesn't align with what I feel like God has entrusted me with these children to accomplish in their lives. Like, it's really good. Yeah. And I thought, as you were talking about missions, and I don't want to monopolize. If somebody else has a question, I don't want to.
No, you're fine. Candace, can you stay on and listen, or do you want to say something?
No, I can stay on and listen. Totally. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Go ahead. Continue then. I want to hear
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I did. I was listening to a book not long ago, and it was actually written from a business standpoint, talking about how to establish your mission statement. But then he pivoted it and said, really, let's bring this into your home. How could implementing and using your mission to support your decision making help you feel more confident, feel like you're really, blossoming in this opportunity you have? Like, the author was clearly Catholic, so it was really kind of interesting to hear kind of his standpoints. But things like, we are family values. I'm trying to remember it. I can type the name of the author, but it was kind of like along the lines of, this family was noticing they were getting pulled in so many directions, trying to support so many things that sounded good at the time and saying yes to so many different things. And when they looked at their mission statement was about their family's mission was to support one another. And for example, we value dinners together. So moving forward, anything that didn't support dinners together, they said no to. Soccer practice that was going to end at dinner time, no. Dance recitals that were going to be at dinner time, no. it was a clear, no, that doesn't support our mission. We're not going to be able to attend. And just, they said, wow, it just made such difference in the peace level and the clarity that starting from that decision of like, this is a defining characteristic of our family is this element. And it doesn't have to be dinner, right? This is just
Right,
an
exactly.
example.
Yes.
But
yes.
if you start by defining like, this is what is going to be, our family is going to be known for and remembered by the members, for this action, this characteristic, and then using that to just, it's a policy.
I
Like,
love that so much. And it's a non-negotiable, kind of like Shabbat,
yeah.
And it could look different for everyone. Like you said, like I'm in a season now where I have so many littles that I'm like, you need to eat and go to bed so I can have a date with your dad. But,
Yes.
but then there's other things that are important that we don't like, that we don't, we spend like even Shabbat, like we do the same thing. We have traditions, I don't know, like you said, it doesn't have to be the dinner, but it gets you thinking. And like sometimes you're like, well, what do I have? Like, let's create something so I can be remembered by, because, and sometimes, you're in a season where you're like, but if you can stick to those things and the kids, like, that's what they'll remember. They're not going to remember. Like for me, even, I just got rid of all my Christmas stuff. I haven't done Christmas, like commercial Christmas, in a long time, but just to get rid of the stuff was so hard for me, because that's what I connected with my family, right? Everyone was most like Messiah when the holidays came around. That's where I put my joy, do I remember the family dinners and everything? Yes. But for me, getting rid of that was super hard for me. And it created all these emotions. And I'm still kind of wrestling with certain things. But one, like you said, like it gets you thinking, what do I want my family to be known for, So Candace, do you have anything? I would love to hear.
Yeah, sorry. I have
Oh,
to say,
please, you're fine. You're fine.
I'm always knitting, crocheting something. I take it everywhere now because it's like part of my sanity.
I love it. Do you have a MOPS shirt on?
Yes, I do. I used to be a leadership in MOPS, but since COVID happened around here in Lawton, I haven't wanted to start MOPS up again.
Yeah, I know. But you, I was, Loyola too. Do you know her story with MOPS?
No, actually I don't.
Okay.
I'm still getting into all this stuff, and there's just so many resources, and I'm like, where do I start? I want to go here and I want to go here. I want to learn about the alphabet. And I'm like, I want to listen to all the homeschooling stuff. And I'm like, so I'm just trying to like grab one thing at a time.
Yeah. How long have you been in the cafe?
A little over 6 months. I just got my apron.
Me too.
No, I need to post a picture of it. I haven't had time to. So,
I want to hear what's your story? Tell us.
Well, I was homeschooled, so my mom is Crystal Welch. So, yeah. So, yes.
So clearly I have a lot of great things to say about her on this call.
But nah, it's all good,
How was your mission statement?
I struggle with that. Like my mom and I are totally on opposite spectrums when it comes to homeschooling. I struggled with it in the beginning of even because my husband was public school, full-blown public school. That's all he ever did. He was in the footballs and the soccers but his mom worked full-time. His dad worked full-time.
That's me.
They were divorced. Then he had to split between both houses. And like me, I basically grew up with my parents and was homeschooled, and we did a lot of home stuff. We did museums and things like that. So me and my husband grew up in two separate environments. How we found each other, that was just all God right there. I don't know. And but to go to the homeschooling, because that's why we're here. For the first 3 years, my daughter went to public school, and I wrestled all the time, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, with I want to homeschool them. Am I good enough? do I have it? We can't afford it. It's too much. And because I was, I thought, oh, you have to have these lavish curriculums, and and I wanted a certain standard of curriculum, and I just, when I started this back last actually summer, after they got out of public school, I had decided, I'd put my foot down and decided I'm homeschooling, because who are they spend nearly 40 hours a week in public school with people who do not believe what I believe, and with other children who do not believe what we believe, what the Torah, the Bible, they believe in Christmas and Easter bunnies and egg hunts, and I was wrestling and wrestling and wrestling with it, and I finally just said, I'm homeschooling. So a week after they got out of school, we started homeschooling, and I have been homeschooling ever since. And I went to Sam's Club and bought some those full curriculum books for $8 each, and they just been doing 1 page a day in each section, spelling. And I do a lot of YouTube videos. I do sing, spell, read, write videos. I do alpha blocks and number blocks, and
Yeah. How old are your children?
1, 3, 5, and 7. So
okay.
Yeah.
So I have a 7-month-old, a almost 3-year-old, and then 2 7-year-olds. So we're kind of in the same season.
Yes. It's been with my youngest one, with my 1-year-old, I lack in figuring out what to do with him. I've been trying. Yeah.
So hard.
I know, it's like you're trying to teach these other ones, and then he's up here in it all the time, and he's scribbling over things, and I'm from this thing, today I was learning, hearing. Well, so what if he sits in your lap and scribbles on a piece of paper while you're multitasking here and here, and one's wanting to know about this word and one's trying to do math over here? And you're just like, you know what? Embrace the chaos. Because, and one thing I wanted to say that really has been like my thing this season, right, this month or so, is that for some reason, soul correction has just come into my mind, that we're here for soul correction and to learn to do better. And our children were given to us so that we can work on our character traits, and and then vice versa. The roles are, we're here to help our children with their character traits, and that's what it's all about. And this is and so it doesn't, like, in my head, I've been saying, it doesn't matter how well you know how to read, or how well you know how to spell, because God gave you those children exactly for who you are right now in the season you are in, and what you have in your life. I am a creative person. I embrace that, and I'm starting to embrace it even more. And our children needed that in their life.
Yeah.
So however we are, even if we lack spelling ability or reading ability, it doesn't matter, because it is on purpose. It is the reason you have your children. It is the reason your children have you.
Wow, that's so good. It's amazing. It's so good, because we can think about it too, like you said, like, how you're different than your mom, that was the first things that you said to me,
Yeah. My mom was very like, I've from what I vaguely remember, I can't remember much of my childhood.
This is being recorded. No, I'm just kidding.
She's okay. We've had many talks. So she a very structured thing, and that's what she's all like in my mind. She's always structure. And me, I'm more of the free flow, not necessarily I can't even pronounce it. Montessori.
Montessori, yeah.
Yeah, Montessori. But but I'm becoming more intentional with what we do. My son asked me the other night, Mom, where does lightning coming from? So I was like, you know what? We'll talk about that tomorrow. I'll go to sleep right now. And I said, so the whole next day we watched a bunch of videos on lightning and electricity, and we read some books on it, and we did our normal schoolwork. But that's what we did that next day. So, and I'm very like, I don't have a curriculum, so I'm just like, okay, what are we gonna do today? Flashcards, memory words, Bible, read the Bible, and I'm sometimes right now just flying by the seat of my pants.
Me too. I wake up and I'm like, oh.
Right, when it comes to homeschooling right now, and I'm like, you know what? You learned something today, right? 2 + 2 = 4. You got that. All right, we accomplished something.
Yeah, or things come up, like your car breaks down, or you have to go get groceries. Like my husband's a firefighter. He gets held at work all the time. So I'm like, wow, we went 15 days without grocery. We have to go to the grocery. All 4 of my kids and me have to go to the grocery store. Like, but then you're like, wow, we can work on our patience. We can work on self-control, the fruits of the spirit, math, write. We can write the list. We can, there's so many things that it's teaching. Like you said, it's teaching us how to navigate those things. And what you said too, which I thought was amazing. I think about, like, besides the spelling and the writing and like the way we different from our children, because of my past, besides my husband, I do not like physical touch. It is very hard for me. Like, even if I'm sitting with somebody at like a conference, or like Bible study, I have to like go sit on the other end because it just makes me feel uncomfortable. So one of my children, which is, I'm sorry, Ruth, the call is actually over in a couple of minutes. We're round tabling, kind of chatting right now. But we have some time if you want to talk or say anything. It's recorded. So my son, our adopted son, he has no personal space at all. And so although he doesn't like to sit on the couch and like cuddle, he always wants to be in my space. He wants to be holding my hand. He wants to come in my bed in the morning and like just touch my hand. And I had to really learn to like start allowing myself to allow that, because I've been so hurt in the past with physical touch. Mm-hmm. It's a trigger for me. And so even to just let my husband, like when we got married, that was huge. So now I have these children that have these different needs too. Ruth was saying too, that's me. My language is, I know, not physical touch.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I do. And with my kids, they're always wanting to sit on my lap, touch me, hug me. They're always like, I'm like, stop touching my face. And then my husband comes home and his love language is physical touch.
Oh, the men, yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm like, honey, I'm really touched out today. Can we not do that?
I have to pray about it, like right when my husband comes home too, I'm like, Father, please, like exactly. Ruth just said the Father knows what we need. Yeah. And I pray, like I pray, like even when my son comes in my bed in the morning, I'm like, Father, I know that like, I'm his mom, and please just give me the, I don't know what the word is, but the thing that I need to be able to just sit in this moment with him and give him what he needs. Cause I know that I have it in me, and we can create boundaries, right? With those things with our children. And
we have to create those boundaries. Like, because my husband, I've struggled with this. My husband, I love my husband. He's very touchy. He likes to slap my butt, rub my butt, and so my sons, I have 3 sons. Wow. 3 sons and a daughter. And I have to teach them that you can't just go and do that. You have to set up boundaries. Otherwise, when they get outside the house, they don't realize, oh, this is different,
Yeah, you're so right. Exactly. Yes. Like my son wanted to kiss everyone. And I'm like, oh, that's for mommy and daddy. And we can there's so many things, but the good part is they're at home. Yeah. So we can we can have conversations like this. And I know we only have a little bit of time, but Kim, I don't know if you can talk, but Kim was saying that she had some really great, she does something in the morning with her daughter. Are you able to unmute and share? Otherwise, I can just kind of quickly share with the
Oh,
lady.
I make her stay in her room.
It's
Is that what
good.
you mean? Yeah. Until she's not allowed to go leave the room until 8 o'clock. So then she can play in there, or at around 7:30, I'll take like a muffin or toast and juice or whatever. And she has a table in her room that she can eat at. And I'll give her like, um, I call it a nursery breakfast. And then at 8 o'clock, she can come out and then we start our morning.
And that's good for you because I know for me, like, I'm nursing a baby through the night. When my kids come running in my bed, like that is a trigger for me, you know? And then like everyone's jumping on my bed, and sometimes we don't have the energy to wake up at 5 a.m. So at least that gives us time to make your coffee or to get in the word, you know, spend
Mhm.
time. I've just been honestly, like we talked about before, just sitting and hearing the father's voice instead of me talking. And that has been so hard for me because I have people talking at me all the time. Like I have to differentiate between sitting still and just like zoning out and just allowing that time to just be with the father and have my coffee. Otherwise, my whole morning is like, so to create that boundary,
That's
we're actually setting ourselves up for success, you know?
exactly. Well, and that's why I do it, because so she sleeps, and she doesn't sleep, well, most nights she ends up sleeping in our bed, but she has her own bed in the room. We all, are in one room. And so I have to put her in there because I need, like Candace was saying, she wants to touch my face. By the end of the day, I'm touched out. I'm like, I'm gonna pull all my hair out. So I love you, but you need to go in there and give mommy a few minutes, because I'm the same way. I don't like to be touched other than my husband. And it's been hard with like because kids want to touch you, be on your lap, and
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah, and especially like when you're in the season of like when you have little ones and they don't understand, they're not like they're not self-sufficient. You know, I'm like nursing a baby right now and we're
Yeah.
co-sleeping. I bed shared with all of my children. And
Mhm.
so yeah, those boundaries, I think it's good to show our children, right? That we have needs too, and we are
Mhm.
putting our relationship with the father before them. And I honestly, like I say this all the time, and my children know that mommy loves daddy, and I always, it's good for them to see too that like I need them to go to bed like 6:30, everyone is in bed and they get to
Yeah.
like watch a show from 6:30 to 7. I don't care. I'm like, that's my time to like get the baby in the thing, whatever. And then like my husband and I, if he's home and he's not working overnight, that's our time. And I am so like, I hold on to that time so tight that sometimes I'm like, I need to hold on tight to that time in the mornings with a father, because I prioritize my husband, like my relationship with my husband. I love being with my husband. And our like my thing is quality time. So I'm like, he comes home and I'm like, are you ready? Um, and I'm like, I'm for it. The dinner's ready. I got like the candles on, the wine, I have everything. But the thing is that when the morning strikes and I need to spend time with the father, that's what my children need to see. And so I've been
Mhm.
trying for anything else to teach them. And when I'm teaching them, I'm teaching myself, like, this is life giving to me, more so than it is with my husband. So I think that, yeah, I think that that's a great point.
Another thing that I do, so when I take her, like her nursery breakfast, I put on the audio Bible for her, and then she gets the word in her, and that's like we call it her quiet time. So she does that. And then we read the Bible later on, but I always put the audio Bible on for her, so she's getting that word in her. And you don't think that they're listening, but she's listening, and she knows, and she'll tell me, like yesterday, she's like, Moses said, "Let my people go," or she'll say, Noah took, clean animals and dirty animals, and so. Um,
Yeah, I like you said, they're always listening, they're always watching us. And sometimes we're like Rich said, we're gonna have balance, we're gonna mess up sometimes. But I always say this, like my husband and I always talk, like, because they're home with us, we have more opportunities for them to see us in this way of like, when you're at work, and you're not with your children, they don't get to see the failures, they don't get to see those, the times that you do something and you're literally on your knees. they don't see the backlash. When you're with them and you're in the physical with them every day doing these daily things, and they learn that mommy needs a moment, and I'm going to lose my patience, but I'm going to pray with you after, and I'm sorry, and I'm going to say I'm sorry. They're going to learn forgiveness. These are all the things that I'm like, okay, we'll get to the other things, but these are the things, like, I'm trying to raise some men up,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I
okay.
was going to say, when your kids see you honor your boundaries, then they learn to honor their boundaries too. They learn to say, this is my boundary and I don't want you to cross it, So they'll learn to honor their boundaries when you show them that you honor your boundaries.
Yeah, especially with this, like, being in today's society, like, even being like, I'm not okay with that right now with physical touch and things like that. I've had my children say to my family members, really don't want to hug right now.
Yeah.
And they're like, and they've been receptive, and they're like, wow, okay, I'm going to honor that. And sometimes I'll say, do you want to give them a high five? No. Okay, that's fine. But like you said, that's such a good point of, I didn't even think about that. Like, we're modeling those things for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. Okay, I want to honor your time. So does anybody else want to close with anything? Danielle, Ruth?
I wanted to say earlier real quick, it's very simple, but when we homeschool, then we're able to walk out the Shema. But when we send our children to public school, we can't do that because they're 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day or however many hours a day. Somebody else has their ear and has their heart. But when we keep them home, then we're able to talk about the Torah. We're able to work things out through the lens of the Torah if there's an issue. But we can't do that if somebody else has their heart.
Yeah, I think the Shema, like, even in the first call, we talked a lot about that, like the Shema, being able to listen and then do, and being able to listen, like that in itself is like, in school, you're just like you said, you're just listening to the teacher,
Can I say something real quick? I learned this past month as well, is that our public school system is engineered for when we have the wars, the Cold Wars and the things like that. It was like changed so that children would grow up and go to a factory and work an assembly line and have to stay there and sit and be quiet and do their job. And that's what the school system literally is programmed to get them to function one way. And our society is no longer that way. We're no longer in an industrial time where we're manufacturing things left and right, and we still manufacture things. That's everybody. Those things still have to be done, but there are so many more things now that we're not focusing on. That isn't an industrial where we don't have to sit there. They're not cookie cutters. Our kids aren't cookie cutters. We can't cookie cut and expect every kid to learn the same thing the same exact way all the time. And but yeah, I thought that was interesting about how it was like an industrial age, and that's why it changed to school desks and things like that, because it was more freer. It wasn't so structured. It wasn't so sit down and cross your fingers and be quiet and don't talk to your neighbor, and
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So that's just kind of one thing I just heard recently, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense, because we don't function that way anymore, and society is stripping the family aspect.
Oh yes,
they're trying to separate children from parents and to rip that away so that they can what's the word, non-gender, where they can tell children that we don't have genders anymore or things like that. And I'm like, no. I was like, that was like one of the things. I was like, I'm tired of hearing all this stuff about non-genders. And you know what? I have boys and I have a girl. And I said, my boys are going to be men and my girl is going to be a girl. And I'm not going to let anybody tell my children any different. And you know, who was I was talking to somebody, sorry, I know we got to go. I was talking to somebody and they're like, well, you know, tolerance. They were like, well, aren't they not going to learn how to tolerate other people's, you know, religions and beliefs and things like that? I said, right now, I am the main source of my children's moral aspect of what they grow up and what they do and how they treat other people. And if I teach my children that, you know what, Aunt Susie likes to celebrate Christmas and she still believes in Santa Claus, but that's okay. We don't have to say anything about it.
Right.
You
That's
know,
what I'm teaching. Yes.
let Aunt Susie celebrate what Aunt Susie wants to celebrate. But here's the truth to it. And you know, and we tell the children the truth. I can teach my children tolerance at home. And she was like, she was a former homeschooler and she had things happen. She had to put her school kids back in school. And she says, well, my children now, you know, they didn't, well, you didn't, I'm not trying to be mean, but she forgot to teach her children tolerance. And not necessarily tolerance, but a way to say, oh, that's what you believe. That's very fascinating. And be able to, like Anna was saying, you know, oh, that's your opinion. Okay, wonderful. Okay, done. You know, with
wrestle with some things, like, you know, when my kids struggle, like, oh, mommy, Santa looks fun, you know, or whatever, you know, like, it's okay to wrestle with those things. I get it, you know,
right.
you know, it's
Yeah. It's hard when, you know, my husband's not Torah observant, and so I haven't bought Christmas stuff, or those things have disappeared. And you know, and my husband still wants to do that stuff, but he tries to show me respect, but outside the house when he goes to his mom's, and that's just full force. It's just so, and so the truth is what the truth will set you free. And so I just tell my children, regardless of what happens, I tell them, this is where Christmas trees came from. This is the history of it. You know what? And that's okay. If people want to do that in their houses, they can do that. But in our house, we're not going to do that. This is
right.
what we're going to do in our house. You know, and sometimes I have to respect my husband and allow him to do things that I don't totally agree with, but I do it to the best of my ability, and God
Yes.
sees that.
Yeah.
And that's when the whole love conquers all, because he knows my heart and he knows my husband's heart, and he's going to see that and understand that. So, oh, sorry. So I'm done.
No, that was good. Oh my gosh, this conversation is so good. Thank you. Thank you, Kim, for staying on a little bit longer. I really appreciate you. And I'm so excited. I really want you guys to come back next month. I feel like this is where the fruit's going to be in these calls. And so I just thank you for showing up, for not only for me, but for yourselves. I was just praying and praying and praying last night at like 12:30 at night. Like, please, like, allow the women that are going to be in the call, allow this to be, you know, to feed us in a way that's going to take us through the month. And so thank you to you guys. I love you, and I will see you next month.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, Kim.